Long live the King! Great Britain crowns a new king, and I, Henry Keane, am explaining our things in easy terms directly from Ukraine, just as usual. The solemn coronation ceremony of Charles III took place in Great Britain. It is the first coronation in 70 years. The previous ceremony was held in 1953 for Queen Elizabeth II. According to tradition, King Charles appeared before the people. Londoners waiting for the event, the most loyal supporters of the royal family occupied favourable places 2 days before. For watching the coronation process, they lived and stayed in the centre of London. Someone pitches tents, someone brings chairs, and someone sleeps in the open air. Government representatives from all over the world attended the event, but the leaders of Russian Federation, Belarus, Iran, Syria, Myanmar, Venezuela and Afghanistan were not invited. It is clear why. Who wants a criminal at their holiday? First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska, arrived at the coronation ceremony of His Majesty Charles III on Thursday. Olena Zelenska visited 10 Downing Street at the invitation of Aggressor, the wife of the Prime Minister of Great Britain. The First Lady of Ukraine thanked Britain for its support to Ukraine, in particular for organizing the Eurovision Song Contest together with Ukrainian partners.
The impossibility of the winning country holding these contests should be another reminder to the world about Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. Olena Zelenskaya, First Lady of Ukraine.
Olena Zelenskaya also noted another important event, the Conference on Reconstruction of Ukraine, which will be held in London this June. Prime Minister of Great Britain Rishi Sunak also joined the meeting.
I'm confident that the conference will significantly speed up the practical implementation of measures to restore Ukraine. We expect concrete results and solutions. Against the background of the importance of providing military aid, the issue of aid to the civilian population is no less important. Reconstruction of hospitals and schools, treatment of the wounded, providing psychological support. Olena Zelenska, First Lady of Ukraine.
Olena Zelenska handed Aggressor an invitation to the third summit of First Ladies and Gentlemen, which will be held on September 6th in Kiev and will be dedicated to the topic of mental health. Olena Zelenska noted that this event strengthens the role of First Ladies and soft power in the world to improve the lives of various countries and peoples. After the meeting, the First Lady of Ukraine and Aggressor visited the British Library together. The First Lady got acquainted with the Ukrainian collection of the British Library and, together with the General Director of the institution, Sir Rowley Keating, presented the Ukrainian bookshelf there. This project of the First Lady for the distribution of Ukrainian literature in the libraries of the world already has 170 shelves in 37 countries, about 44,000 books. Russian occupation authorities continue to forcibly transfer and adopt Ukrainian children. Approximately 20,000 children are still in Russian captivity. The Council of Europe's Parliamentary Assembly adopted a resolution recognizing Russia's deportation of Ukrainian children as evidence of genocide. This is the first time that the fact has been acknowledged at the level of a high international organization that unites the states of our continent. Russia's forced adoption and deportation of Ukrainian children is a flagrant violation of the Genocide Convention and Geneva Conventions. It is part of a larger ethnic cleansing campaign.
First, we record the facts of the forced deportation of Ukrainian children by the Russian Federation. At the moment, according to the preliminary analysis, we can say as of now there are more than 19,000 children in the category of deported. This means that the Russian Federation by its actions forcibly took away Ukrainian children and forcibly took to the territory of the Russian Federation. The next step that Russia takes is taking Ukrainian documents, first of all the birth certificate, and issuing Russian ones, in order to actually change the information.
By issuing Russian passports to Ukrainian children and placing them for adoption with Russian families, Russia violates fundamental principles of child protection in times of war. Security or health concerns are just a false pretext for justifying these actions. We will continue to work for the return of all deported Ukrainian children and the punishment of Russian perpetrators.
Let's call it what it is. Russia's forcible deportation of innocent Ukrainian children is a systematic attempt to erase Ukraine's future. James Cleverly, Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, on Twitter.
On 30th of March 2023, the delegations of 45 participating states of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, after consultation with Ukraine, invoked the Moscow mechanism under paragraph 8 of the Moscow document. They requested that the Office of Democratic Institutions and Human Rights inquire with Ukraine whether it would invite a mission of experts to address the deportation of children amidst human rights violations and humanitarian impacts of Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. The intermission established that a large number of Ukrainian children have been since 24 February 2022 and even prior to this date displaced from the territory of Ukraine to the temporarily occupied territories to the territory of the Russian Federation. While the exact numbers remain uncertain, the fact of a large-scale displacement of Ukrainian children does not seem disputed by either Ukraine nor Russia. In this report, primary focus has been placed on orphans and on unaccompanied children, since those constitute the most vulnerable groups among displaced children. The mission has found out that the three most commonly indicated grounds for the organized displacement of these children are the evacuation for security reasons, the transfer for the purpose of adoption or foster care, and temporary stays in the so-called recreation camps. While in the temporarily occupied territories or in the Russian Federation, Ukrainian children are placed in various institutions or in Russian families. The forms of the placement include adoption, which has been applied mainly for children from Crimea at least since 2015, or custody, guardianship or foster families, which seem more common for other Ukrainian children mainly since 24 February 2022. Whatever the form of placement, Ukrainian children are exposed to pro-Russian information campaigns, often amounting to targeted re-education. The Russian Federation does not take any steps to actively promote the return of Ukrainian children. Rather, it creates various obstacles and pretexts for families seeking to get their children back. Sanctions against Russia must be strengthened. Ukraine and international community must send a clear message to potential aggressors. Any predatory war will result in the aggressor suffering the greater amount of damage. Russia continues to attack critical infrastructure and killing civilians in violation of international law and warfare customs. We must do everything possible to hold the terrorist state accountable for its actions as soon as possible. Anyone who guides and launches missiles, as well as anyone who handles planes and ships for terror, is an accomplice in this murder. That is why it is critical to sanction Russia's missile and drone industries, as well as restrict access to dual-use technologies right now. We also urge our partners to step up their efforts to ensure that our skies are reliably protected. This includes supplying Ukraine with Western combat aircraft, specifically F-16s, as well as more air and missile defense systems. We are grateful to all of our partners who see the common task of Ukraine and the world in this way: the defeat of the terrorist state and the establishment of a just peace in Ukraine and Europe.
It is very important that Russia receives ever stronger signals that the world will not forgive any of Russia's acts of terror, and that as many global players as possible are absolutely principled in upholding the sanctions regime against Russia for terror, remaining as united as possible, maintaining the greatest principled stance to protect our common values, and implementing defense agreements as fast as possible. Altogether in Ukraine, in Europe, in the world, we will be able to prevent Russia from protecting the war and restore a normal, just peace.
In the recent brutal attack on the city of Uman, 23 people died along with 6 children. During the day on May 3rd, as a result of shelling of Kherson by the occupiers, 23 people were killed. 46 people were injured. Children were amongst them. Russian missiles have hit a large hypermarket, a railway station, a supermarket and other civilian facilities where people usually gather in Kherson region.
3 травня 2023 року.
May 3rd, 2023, the day when grief came to Kherson families, to families that lost relatives due to the Russian terrorist attack on the Kherson region. 23 lost their lives, 46 injured. Railway station, supermarkets, gas station, residential quarters of Kherson, enemy targets, places where we live, where we walk. The enemy's targets are our lives and the lives of our children.
Nothing new, dear world. Killing civilians is a tool of a terror. It was done deliberately and is absolutely normal for Russia, as a terrorist country led by a thug under criminal investigation. And the whole civilized world is looking for the ways to resist the aggressor. The European Commission presented a plan to increase the production of ammunition to 1 million shells per year. €500 million have already been allocated from the EU budget for this purpose. This was stated by the European Commissioner for the Internal Market and Defence Industry, Thierry Breton. The politician said that this plan is unprecedented and is aimed at building up European defence capabilities. He says the European defence industry must move into a war economy mode to meet Ukrainians' needs and the EU's needs for security.
The EU defense industry does not have the scale today to meet the security needs of Ukraine and our member states, but it has the potential to do so. Thierry Breton, European Commissioner for Internal Market Affairs.
According to Breton, within 12 months, Europe will be able to increase the production of ammunition to 1 million. In this way, the EU will be able to fulfill the third strategic direction of the previously developed approach of EU assistance to Ukraine. It follows option 1 and 2, which partly reimburse the EU countries for the costs of sending ammunition to Ukraine from their existing stocks, as well as for joint purchases of new materials. The new plan will mainly be used to increase production capacity and finance the refurbishment of old ammunition, as well as incentive to prioritize deliveries to Ukraine over other contracts. The European Commission intends to redirect part of the budget funds from sustainable development funds, since the militarization of the European economy is now becoming a key priority for the European economy. 11 EU countries can already begin accelerated production of 155mm NATO caliber shells and 2 EU countries of Soviet standard 152mm shells, Breton said. In addition, we are talking about the production of ammunition caliber 120 and 22mm, anti-tank missiles, surface-to-surface or surface-to-air missiles. Breton refused to comment on the planned production volumes for each type of ammunition, stressing that this is classified information. The European Commission's plan will now be handed over to the Council of the European Union and the European Parliament, which must approve it as soon as possible in order for it to take effect. So, the money that could have and should have gone to development will be used for defense and military purposes because of, that's right, Russian aggression against Ukraine and the world. Kremlin's propaganda, of course, will tell you that corrupted politicians in Europe do not care about us in Ukraine. Believe what you want to believe in. But first go ask Putin's talking head Peskov, why does his daughter live in Europe? If this is such a bad place to live in, why are all the major assets of Russian corrupted politicians held not in rubles but in dollars and euro in American and European banks? Why the whole country is gathering on their neurotic 9th of May parade, driving German cars? Where are Russian smartphones, Russian computers, any Russian TVs, Russian coffee machines? High-tech? Software? Internet? No? Nothing but oil? Well then, comrades, you are nothing but a huge gas station with a nuclear bouncer sitting in Kremlin and impotent to use his nuclear balls? Why? Oh, come on. His kids and grandkids better be living in Europe and in the United States after his insane policy of isolation, greed and war destroys Russia to the ground. It was Henry Keane on UATV State Channel, just telling you a hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Stay safe and tuned for more.